باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ونريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم أئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
My respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'd like to discuss an important question tonight that is related to the current events. And I'd like to explore this in two different ways, going back to our principles and what the Quran has taught us. This question is related to the concept of victory. Many today ask that who is winning today? Are we victorious? Or have we faced a very hard defeat? When we look at what the scholars tell us, we see that the scholars keep emphasizing that we have won, that Palestine has acquired victory. And so it confuses us even more. Like, on one side we trust what you said, but I don't understand, really? What I'm seeing on the ground, it's a different story. How can you even say that we're winning? How can you even say that the oppressed nation has achieved victory when what we're seeing is horrible? And so inshallah, I'd like to explore this topic in a bit more detail and create some thoughts about what we understand by victory. We'll be looking at this in two different ways. The first way is a bit zoomed in. It's a lens that's a bit zoomed in, looking at things from a very zoomed in perspective. And then, inshallah, we'll zoom out a little bit and try and look at this from a more holistic perspective and see really what victory really means in the greatest sense of the word. So, to begin in the first sense, when we look at victory and the concept of victory and who's winning, unfortunately, the likes of me who have grown playing video games and watching animations, we have this idea of, I get 3 points and you get 2 points, or I managed to beat you and you lost and it's game over. We have to realize that the real world is not like this. The real world is not about how many points you can get and how many slaps and kicks you can give to somebody. Right? In bracket, you can add this to the effects of Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
You can add this to the list of all the negative effects that we face when we allow kids to play these video games. It's this idea of black and white, of you hit me and I hit you back and then it's end. In fact, if you notice, when the Sayyid spoke on Friday, many people were very disappointed, right? You agree? We were expecting some miraculous bomb falling somewhere or something really big happening. And when he spoke, a lot of people came and said, that was disappointing. That didn't feel like a winning speech. We thought something really big would happen. Kind of superhero Marvel way of thinking, you know. In fact, I was watching one analysis and he was saying that when things calm down in a couple of years and we look back at this speech on that Friday will stand out as something that really changed the game. How can we say this? When we look at victory, we need to understand what we're trying to say when we look at victory. We need to look at the reality. And we need to put things into perspective. On one side, you have an oppressed nation, right? 2 million people living for over a decade now in an open-air prison with no facilities, no resources, no budget. It's really David against Goliath, right? It's really a small cat facing a huge dinosaur. So when we look at the story in this way, we realize that victory requires criteria. When do you call something a victory? You need malak, you need criteria. What is the criteria for a victory? There are many. One of them is to look at victory from the perspective of the goal. So you look at both sides and you say, which side, what are the goals of each side? And have they been able to, one, achieve the goals that they had? And two, not allow the opponent to achieve their goals. Right? So when you have two sides, look at this from this perspective. If I'm fighting with somebody and I have my goals and he has his goals, if I'm able to achieve my goals and stop them from achieving their goals, then that would count as a victory. So now I come to this story. When you look at the oppressive regime and look at the goals that they had, one of the important goals of the oppressive regime is what? Is to provide security. Is to provide the most strongest military that no one could dare to attack. That creates fear in anybody who even thinks about doing anything about this. To provide security, to bring in people to the land, to the occupied land, and to provide a great level of security. This is why in terms of surveillance, right, this oppressive regime is amongst the first country in the whole world in terms of technology related to surveillance, in terms of technology related to military. Why? Because it's a goal that they have, to provide security for its people. And then to create a public image that is very attractive, because it wants to bring people to live in the occupied lands. Therefore, it needs to create a public image that's very beautiful, that's attractive, that you feel like going to live over there. That's a goal that they have. In fact, if you look at images that have come out of some of the towns and cities of the oppressive regime, you realize it's very beautiful. The beachside, the big mansions, the swimming pool, it's really, really pretty. Like, if you get an offer to go and live there, it looks very attractive. And that's an image that they've been created and worked for decades to create this image in people. If you look at the immigration that's happening from all over the world to the occupied lands, it's been increasing as the years go. Why? Because they managed to create this public opinion where we provide an attractive life full of security in this land. A huge portion of the tax of people that migrate over here is related to security. It's a promise that they've been given. And part of this is also to make sure that they are recognized by the neighbors. That the neighbors have a good relation with this nation. And therefore, for decades now, so much money and time and effort has been put towards the Abraham Accords. To build relationship with the neighbors. To make sure that we are not just considered legitimate, but we have good, peaceful relation with others. This is part of creating this image. So this is the goal on this side. And during the war, the goal is what? The goal is to eradicate the opponent. To eradicate the oppressed people. To completely remove them. That's what they've been saying since the beginning of the war. We will not stop until we completely eliminate all of them. Every single one of them. Correct? That's the goal of the war as well. And you come on the other side. On this small cat. What can you do? There's two options. One option is what's been happening pre-1979. The likes of Yasser Arafat and these guys. We'll shake your hands. You slap us on one face. It's okay, we'll forgive you. We'll give you a bit more. To become friends. To kneel down. To allow humiliation to come. It's okay, we'll give everything that we have. And the other path that the oppressed nation has taken is the path of resistance. And their goal is resistance. What does resistance mean? Resistance means that you don't give up. That you don't show humiliation. You don't allow yourself to be humiliated. You allow yourself to remain, to fight back, to the extent that you can, in a realistic world, to the extent that you can. That you're there, you never give up. You never give up. And slowly, you grow and you increase in your capacity. But you never give up, you fight till the end. That's the goal. According to the ability of the oppressed nation, that's the goal that they have, is to resist. To make sure that we are not wiped out, that we are not humiliated. So now you come to the question. Tell me, according to the criteria, which of these two parties have been able to, one, achieve their goal and stop the others from achieving their goal? On one side you find that this Tufan broke the ru'b that was created. The fear that people had of this military might in this Middle East, that was broken. By one event, people realized that, hold on a second, this thing that looked very powerful is a spider web. They could do something. These small people could do something that we thought was unimaginable. When something unimaginable happens, you realize that, it's possible, therefore. It broke every idea of security that was provided. That we thought this is the most secure place, and suddenly it's not anymore. Suddenly the sirens are going out in every part of the occupied lands. Even places that we thought will never be touched, suddenly there's red on the map. You find that the internal disputes within the oppressive regime is coming out even more and more. For 39 weeks prior to this, ongoing protests on the road. We know how divided this nation is. It's becoming even more. One of the biggest reasons why every single president of the West had to come as soon as the war broke out was this, to say, guys, unite, come together, please, save yourselves. This is the end of it. It was the first time in history that during a wartime president was coming over here. Why? Because they realized that this is the end. This has shaken us to the core. It's when you are so confused and when you are losing that you hit women and children. Right? When you are on a plain battlefield and you're fighting an opponent, you come and hit the opponent. When you are losing, when you are confused, when you are anxious, when you don't know what's happening, you're losing out, that's when you go and attack children and women. Those remember Mike Tyson. He's losing the fight. What does he do? Bites the guy's ears. Right? In that moment where he himself says, right? Like, my head's hurting, like he's frustrated. And this guy was just hitting him so hard, goes and bites the guy's ears. It's a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're losing. It's a sign of frustration. On the other side, have they been able to achieve their goal? Yes. They haven't given up. Till now, they haven't given up. That was the goal that they had. The goal was to not give up. The goal was to resist. Have they been able to their capacity, resist? They have resisted. And so we realize that we're told that this is a defeat, and a defeat that is غير قابل الترميم, that it cannot be fixed. This is what it means. That everything that they tried in the Abraham Accords to bring back this handshake between the Arab nations and this oppressive regime, all of that went out of the picture. All this idea of security, all this idea of strength, all of it just disappeared suddenly by one thing. So if tomorrow there's a ceasefire, this ceasefire is a victory. It's actually no. It's been victorious up until now. The ceasefire is just the cherry on top of the cake. To nail it down that this was a victory for us. Why? We achieved our goals. Resistance happened the way it's supposed to happen. They resisted till the end, till the last breath. Nobody ever gave up. On the other side, that security, that might, the goal that they had of eradicating didn't happen with one ceasefire. There's another thing as well to look into this before I move on to the second section. And that is, whenever we look at victory, we never count victory from one point of time in history. It's a mistake to point a finger at one time and say, these 20 days, these 30 days, these 2 months, was there victory or not? That's not a good analysis. Victory is counted and judged and analyzed over a period of time. Because otherwise, many of the things in history, you would count them as defeat, including Karbala. If you pick up just 10th of Muharram, it's a defeat. But when you span out across 2, 3 years, 4 years, a decade, a millennium, you realize, hold on a second, that was a huge victory. That day was horrible. That day was a massacre. But overall, who was victorious? On that day, if you're standing, you're shedding tears, you're thinking this is a defeat. But you realize that no. If you look at over time, these same people that were throwing stones, not 100 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they were throwing for the first intifada was when? During our lifetime. And I'm young. From throwing stones to what now? That's a victory. I was exploring this topic a bit and somebody mentioned this point and used another example. Those who've heard that Manoto is closing down after 14 years. Manoto is that Iranian-speaking, Farsi-speaking channel that became very big last year during the Masa Amini protest, right? During that time, Manoto was talking about Iran being changed, the government being toppled down, and the Ayatollahs of Iran running to Venezuela to get support over there. Right? This is what the thing that was coming out from this channel at that time. That it's finished. Everything's finished. Tehran's gone. We've won. Today they announced what? That next month this TV channel is stopping because the one who was funding it realized that this has become pointless now after 14 years. Now on this side, we're going as strong as before. So you realize you don't judge moments in time. It says at that time when the Mahsamini protest was happening, this is what we've lost. You zoom out a little bit, you realize, hold on a second, no. After a year, where are those protests? Where are those who protested? And where is Manoto right now that was screaming out victory? And now they have to shut down because they don't have any funding left. And you have examples after examples. Right? When you look at particular incidents over history, you have to zoom out and look at them over time. And when you look at over time, again, you realize that the oppressed nation is victorious. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
But what about 12,000 deaths? Half of them children. What about the destruction? To answer this, and to also answer something else, that not only have these scholars, our respected Marajah, talked about victory, but they've actually said that this is haqq and batil. Alaykum salam. That leads us to a deeper analysis. That leads us to look down at this event, look at this event in a more deeper way. So let's explore. When we look at the creation, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for a purpose. That this is not lahb al-la'ib, that the creation has a goal, has a purpose. There's haqq in the creation, right? That means the creation is going towards somewhere. It's going towards human perfection. It's going towards achieving that which makes the human a human. And I'm going to summarize over here the discussion because we don't have too much time. When we look at the Quran, we realize that from the time of Adam alayhi salam, the history of mankind is a history that progresses. It's a history that's going somewhere. It's going towards perfection. And as the years and the decades and the centuries pass, mankind is going closer and closer to that ultimate goal of perfection. And every single prophet that came, one after the other, they took mankind a step ahead into this journey towards perfection. The ulama call this Jabr Tarihi, right? That the history is like this. There's no choice in this, right? Because Allah is created for perfection. If it doesn't go like this, then it becomes a game. It becomes pointless, Right? We know that Allah doesn't do anything pointless. There is haqq in this, there is a purpose in this. And therefore, the entire creation from Adam till the end, to Dhuhur, there is growth happening. And this is one explanation of why every single Prophet will pray for the Dhuhur of the 12th Imam, right? Because that's the goal. That's what we're all heading towards. That true, ultimate human perfection that we're going towards. And this also answers the question of, have all the prophets been successful during their lifetime? Yes. Every single prophet managed to take humanity to the next step. One after the other, moving all the way towards human perfection. But at the same time, mankind has a choice. Because its perfection is not achieved unless there is choice. And therefore, at every moment of time, there are individuals who will become an obstacle, or will try to become an obstacle for mankind to reach perfection. And they're called Taghut. Right? So, mankind is going towards spirituality, towards human morality, towards being a true human being. Right? Towards that knowledge and that ilm, that ma'rifah, that human traits. But there are individuals that come and try and take the caravan of humanity in a different direction. And Allah in the Quran tells us that in this battle, that is a battle that's happening, this is the battle of haqq and batil. And in this battle, brothers and sisters, haqq is always victorious. That never ever will any Taghut be able to divert the caravan of humanity away from its goal to attain perfection. This is a clear promise from Allah. Right? Observe. Surah Qasas, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون بالحق لقوم يؤمنون. Tell you the story of Musa and Fir'aun. It's a very beautiful example that we need to understand and its truth. لقوم يؤمنون. The middle part was for me. إن فرعون علا في الأرض. Right? Fir'aun counted himself as God, as the most powerful being on the land, and to be able to oppress exactly the way they're oppressing today, he did a few things, right? He divided the people, he made them za'if, يَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةً مِّنْهُمْ. He slaughtered their boys, يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُمْ, and prevented the females to kind of dilute their culture, dilute their principles. Right? إِنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُفْسِدِينَ, and he was amongst the mufsid. If you were to look at that period of time, again, yes, haqq was being defeated. But Allah tells us, no, you forgot. I'm giving you principles. وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ الْوَارِثِينَ. That Allah is saying that nurid, we want, and this is not aradna. This is not that we, at that time of Musa and Fir'aun, we wanted the mustad'afin to become victorious. No. This is a principle Allah is telling you. وَنُرِيد, this is our principle, this is our sunnah. That the oppressed will be victorious. This is the principle that I'm giving you. That it is not possible for this caravan of humanity not to reach its perfection. The Taghut can try however much they want, they can never go and take it away. They might be able to kill our babies. They might be able to do a lot of destruction, but as a whole, they will never be able to be victorious. They will always be defeated. What makes... Before I do that, there's other verse, I'll show you one more. وَلَقَدْ سَبَقَتْ كَلِمَتُنَا لِعِبَادِنَا الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And our kalima, right, our promise, something that's been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is what? إِنَّهُمْ لَهُمُ الْمَنْصُورُونَ. That the prophets should always be helped. وَإِنَّ جُنْدَنَا لَهُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. And our army, Allah's army, will always be ghalib, will always be victorious. So victory is decreed for haqq. Question, there is a condition that the Quran talks about. The Quran says that if you want to see who is in this path of this victory, because mankind has to have a choice, who is part of this victory, who is achieving this victory, you realize that the Quran keeps on mentioning that those who have faith, those who have sabr, those who have istiqamah, and those who are part of this nasr of Allah, this help from Allah, and this victory. In other words, anyone who shows iman, anyone who shows faith and sabr, patience and endurance, is part of the victory. إِنَّا لَنَنْصُرُ رُسُلَنَا وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Indeed, we help our prophets and those who believe. But don't think that the victory will come for free. This is what the people of Ahzab thought. Surah 33, check it out. The people who thought that, you know what, Allah said is with us, the prophets are with us, and that's it, we're going to win. When they saw the huge army, they realized this is going to be damaging. They failed to do what they were supposed to do. How difficult this is? Let me show you a verse. حَتَّى إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ. Until the point comes when the Rusul lose hope. It becomes so difficult. The enemy is so powerful over us. It's killing us left, right, center. That we're about to lose hope. إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ قَدْ كُذِبُوا. And then they've been lied to. At that point, when you come to this point, when now you think like, hold on a second, now they've taken up everything. Now it looks like we're going to lose. At that point, جَاءَهُمْ نَصْرُنَا فَنُجِّيَ مَنْ نَشَاءُ. At that point comes the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It required you to do what? To not give up. It required you to have this sabr, to have this iman. And if you're part of that, then you've acquired this victory. You've achieved that true human purpose that you're created for. You're part of the haqq. This is what the Quran teaches us. Now come on this side. You've all seen the videos and the photos of these Palestinians who recite the Shahadatain with a smile whilst they're being bombed. You've seen these kids playing on the street. What happened? No, don't worry, it's nothing. They lost their parents, lost their brothers, lost their sisters. Based on what? Based on iman. Nothing but iman. Right now the whole world is awakened because of what? Because they realize there's something deeper to this story than just what's happening on face value. You've seen the latest video of this lady who lost the three girls in Lebanon. That video should be framed and played everywhere. What level of sukuna and itminan and sabr is she talking with? She just lost 3 beautiful girls that had a future. She's smiling. This is from Allah. She has faith. She has sabr. When people see this, they realize this is victory. This is the victory. This is the human perfection that we were created for. This is the manifestation of what the prophets came for. This is that victory. That you're part of the caravan. The caravan was supposed to reach that, you've reached it. That victory, that help of Allah comes to those individuals. Why? Because they've shown patience. They've shown faith. They've shown perseverance. This is when you talk about the haqq and the batil. That this is really the battlefield between haqq and batil. On one side you have iman, you have istiqamah, you have tawakkul, you have sabr. On the other side you have what? You have an oppressive regime that wants to stop human morality, that wants to stop human perfection, that stands against justice, that's based on shahwa and anger and violence. That's a taghut that's trying to divert the caravan of mankind towards perfection. It is bound for defeat. That is what we're seeing right now. So when we say they are victorious, for sure they're victorious. 100% there is no doubt. But more than that, إِن يَنْصُرُكُمُ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. The Quran tells us that if Allah helps you, فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. You will never be defeated. Nobody can defeat you if Allah helps you. True? Oh Allah, when do you help us? When do you help us? Have you helped the oppressed nation over here? Allah says, إِن تَنْصُرُ اللَّهُ يَنْصُرْكُمْ. If you help me, if you help the deen, if you help mankind born on the caravan towards human perfection, get close to Allah, then Allah will help you. Question. If you look at today, don't we notice an awakening in the world because of what's happened over there? Don't you see that this one tufan caused an awakening in the world? If you look at the stats, it's crazy. They're saying more than 600 protests just in the US. 300,000 people in Washington. Close to 1 million people in London, not just once. You look left, right, center, you realize that, hold on a second, what is happening? Humanity's conscience has been awakened. For decades, one of the things of this world is that haqq and batil becomes mixed. One of the things that the Taghut does to try and move the caravan away is to mix haqq and batil, to portray itself as haqq. For decades, the West has tried to show itself as a civilized nation that is based on human rights and justice. Today, one tufan and the true face came out. People started to realize, hold on a second. It took 40 years, and for 40 years, the ulama have been saying Magbar America. I tried to do all sorts of explanation of what it means, Magbar America. It took one tufan for the whole world to be awakened to this reality that, hold on a second, you're right, really Magbar America. Isn't that helping Allah's deen? Is that the help of Allah that comes on this nation? Isn't that a greatest of victory? That today the world is awakened towards the reality. It takes an Ammar to be sacrificed to show who the true evil enemy is. It takes a Tufan to realize that who really stands on justice. That is a victory. That is a great victory. That doesn't deny the pain and the suffering and the oppression that the oppressed nation is going through, for sure. But we need to understand that today is a victory and tomorrow will be a victory. And we need to believe this. We need to believe this. We need to see this. We need to realize this. From the first lens, to summarize, from the first lens, we saw that when you understand the criteria of what a victory means, that on one side they have a goal, and they've managed to achieve their goal, but not only just achieve their own goal, but also prevent the opponent from reaching their goal, and defeated it in a way that they can't come back out of this, and truly it's a victory in that sense. But if you go even deeper, you realize that in a sense of haqq and batil, the way the Quran teaches us, then no doubt this is a victory. No doubt that human perfection, human morality, human justice have been manifested in the most beautiful of ways. And the victory of Allah comes when this condition is achieved. That throughout history we've seen moments of pain, moments of suffering, moments of oppression. And the Quran has kept us telling us that victory will come, the nusrat of Allah will come. When Allah wants it, when you despair, when you think you've lost it, but I want you to carry on. At that moment the nusrat of Allah will come. The moment you thought you lost it, but you carried on one more step. You gave everything that you had. You showed istiqamah, you showed sabr, you showed tawakkul. That moment the nusrat of Allah comes, the help of Allah comes. And indeed, victory will happen. Because haqq will also be victorious. And this will, inshallah, be part of this caravan going towards the zuhur and the ultimate and final victory. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the tawfiq to understand the Quran, to understand the ma'arif of the Quran, to be able to realize what the Quran is teaching, and to be able to do tatbiq on the events that happen in our life. But not only that, but also to be able to perform our wadhifa, our responsibilities, and not to be silent watchers on what's happening and just to see what's happening, but rather be part of the caravan, be part of the movement, and please do the very little that we can, inshallah, to be considered part of the victory. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of the 12th Holy Imam and to include us amongst His best of companions, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.